Hello, welcome on back. It's Wednesday's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, #1 tennis betting podcast and YouTube tennis betting show brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. I am Nigel Seeley and I'm joined by our senior ATP Tour handicapper. It is Sean Calvert. We're looking ahead to tomorrow's 4 matches only in round 2 of the ATP Tour event, the 1000 event this week in Montreal in Canada. Good afternoon to you, Sean. How are you, my friend?
Good afternoon to you. I'm all right, actually, yeah. Apart from the fact that it's summer holidays and, you know, the associated issues with that, which I'm sure no one is interested in. But, yeah, Legans are off at soccer camp at the minute. So, yeah, I've got a little bit of
peace and quiet.
Yeah, a bit of peace and tranquility and a chance to look at some tennis matches. How are you? How's the back?
You don't want to know.
Okay.
I will tell you off air.
Okay,
I've been to physio, and they're sending me for a scan because they think I've got something wrong with my discs. But there's something else that I think is a problem with it, and I think it goes back to an issue I had a month ago with not to do in my back, to do with something else, which I'll tell you off air.
Oh, I know where this is going. Yeah, okay.
I think when I went under, when I had the procedure.
Yes.
I think they've hit a nerve, and I think they've caused damage to my nerve because my back started playing up the week after that.
That's insane.
And I think they've gone in, and I think when I went under and I passed out twice, they didn't know why I passed out. I think they've hit a nerve, and ever since then, my right leg has got nerve damage. Anyway, we'll see that. We'll see the come. I'm sitting here with this heated back thing on at the moment, which is quite comfortable. It's the only way I can sit in. My right leg just goes into spasms and pins and needles, and I'm in a bit of a bad way, my old mate.
Apart from that, you're all right.
Yeah, I feel a bit depressed, but
it's kind of debilitating, isn't it? I mean, loads of people watching this and listening to this will have had back problems and stuff. It is kind of just debilitates you after a while, doesn't it? Because you can't do anything.
Well, it's not the back. The back is actually all right.
Well,
it's the nerves on the right leg. The nerves. Yeah. It's just the tingling of the nerves in the leg. Anyway, and I don't want to bore everybody with problems, but I have now got to go for a scan. I've then got to go and see a referral to the doctors. I've got to speak to the guy who performed the initial procedure. So I don't think it's going to be something that's going to come up easy. I thought we'd have a couple of exercises, we'd be all right, but it doesn't appear to be that. Anyway, one thing that will cheer me up, because yesterday I was happy for 5 minutes and I was sad. Lorenzo
That's like my day every day.
Well, Sonego got the job done easy. Was you up last night watching the? Well, he got the job done. He looked in control. I thought he was much the better player. I know he dropped the second set, but I think he was. We were on the right side of the bet from the
value-wise,
yeah. Did you watch the second match, the Tibio and Tiafoe match?
Well, that was 2 points short of cashing as well.
Did you see what happened?
No, it's on now. Actually, it's on right now on the screen.
It was 4-4, and it was 30-all. And the line machine, Hawkeye, failed. Totally in ball, and it would have gone 40-30 to Tiafoe. Then they made the replay of the point, went 30-40, he got broken, he lost the set 6-4.
I didn't know that. That's now made me depressed. That has now. I just thought it.
Watch what happens there. It's a real bad beat.
I will. It'll be on in 20 minutes.
Real bad beat. So, the first one, I knew straight away we were on a good thing. Then it obviously went bad. But anyway, that was yesterday. It's about
the scheduling didn't help with that either, because we have to pick, or I have to pick these matches a couple of days generally before they're out. So I don't know when the scheduling is going to be. Scheduling that match at night made that less likely, but I can't control that, unfortunately.
Well, a lot of people have asked about the choices of these matches. Now, the reason why we have to go to these matches is because we do a show every day. The time now here in the UK is coming up to 2:15, and all we know for tomorrow is 4 matches. There's only 4 matches we know for tomorrow, so we've got to do the 4 matches.
This is Hobson's choice. This one, I mean, we certainly had the choice a couple of days ago. I had the choice of quite a few, but I didn't know when they were going to be played. I mean, the conditions in Montreal, which I'm sure you're going to ask me about in a minute, anyway. They look quick to me. I suggested they would be quick at the start of the week. It does look quick. That anyone that watched the Sonego Griekspoor match in the middle of the day, warm day, sun was out, looked lively, but obviously at night it gets slower, and I don't know when the matches are going to be scheduled, which is a difficult one, unfortunately. But that's what we work to with time constraints. Like today, we can only choose these 4 matches because these are the only ones we've got, and we have to try and find something from that.
Exactly. So when the games are being played in the late afternoon here in matches, we've already recorded the show. So that's why we have to do the matches that we have. And these 4 matches that we're going to talk about here today might not necessarily be the best matches. Well, they're not going to be the best matches for Thursday, but they are the matches. They are the matches that we like. If you want to get any extra tips or any other advice, for what we don't cover here, the best place to always go is our Twitter and our Instagram account at Because We Win. We post things up there if there's a bit of value, which we do not cover here. So make sure you subscribe and follow the Twitter handle and the Instagram handle at Because We Win. Okay, you touched about the conditions, Sean. You said it was going to be quick. It is quick.
Looks quick to me. I mean, it's always difficult from the naked eye, but it gives you a fair idea. You can kind of tell the kind of shots they play. You know what value you're getting from those shots. If you're hitting a big forehand, is it a winner? Is it a virtual winner? Or is the opponent likely to get it back because of the slowness of the court? For me, this looks like a court that you can hit winners on. You can serve big on. You can play attacking tennis on. That's one of the reasons I picked Sonego. I know Griekspoor is an attacking player as well, but Sonego's a very, very aggressive player, as we'll talk about again in a minute. And if they're playing well, they obviously have to play well. You know, that for me, that sort of game here this week in Montreal should have the call over the more sort of defensive style of play.
Let's have a look at that first match we was touching on there, Sonego against Tabilo. These matches start at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Again, as Sean has said to you just at the beginning of the show, we do not know the order of play. So the best thing to do is head to the Bet Rivers website or the app and check out the timings. Obviously, going to be quick. An early start gets cooler as the day goes on. And obviously bear that in mind when you do place your wagers. We do not have that information now, but you will do as the day progresses today, and you'll be able to check out the timings and the schedules with Bet Rivers when the order of play is announced later on this afternoon. Okay, first match, Alejandro Tabilo. Obviously that match yesterday against Tiafoe. I wish I didn't tell Sean now because he's going to be unhappy for the rest of the show.
I'm sour about that.
Yeah, well, you might.
I'm watching it now on the other screen.
Well, wait until you see that point. We might have to be cut off because Sean might be smashing the television screens up.
Wouldn't
but Alejandro...
Yeah,
Tabilo is minus 150. Lorenzo Sonego is plus 120 here. The spread is 1.5. Minus 118 for the Chilean. Minus 1.5. Sonego receiving 1.5 is minus 1.8. Total again high. Sonego covered the over yesterday very easy. 23.5 is over minus 103. Under is minus 124. The pair have met once before in 2022 on a hard court at Winston-Salem. It was 7-5, 6-1 for Sonego. Sonego for me is the better player in these kind of conditions, although his hard court record this year isn't very good. But he is an underdog here, Sonego, a heavy underdog, which does surprise me. And the money has come in the last sort of hour or so since these lines were opened up with Bet Rivers for Tabilo. Don't understand that move for the Chilean here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tabilo's the best option here. I think he's statistically he's well ahead. Minus 150. What's that price?
166. 1.66.
Yeah, it's 1.7 when I saw. So a little bit of money's come for Tabilo. Sonego he got a little bit lucky against Griekspoor. I mean, there was nothing in that match at all. He nicked the first set tiebreak. That could have absolutely gone either way. Ended up with just a little bit of quality from Sonego. Was able to take it. Led, I think, 4-2 in the second set. Typically, Sonego's not a great front runner. Got pegged back. Ended up winning it. I think he won one fewer point in the match, Sonego. And Griekspoor was ahead on the service points, won and return points, won total. So, not a convincing win, but a win. And I think I was right in the sense that I think there was some value there. I can't see much value on Sonego here. If we look at the current season, main level away from clay, Sonego, service points, won and return points, won total of 98 and a hold and break total of 95. Not great stats, but they were better than what Griekspoor had produced on a hard court, which is one of the reasons I took Sonego yesterday. But if you compare this to Tabilo, his service points, won and return points, won total 102 and a service hold and break total of 106. He's been great on all surfaces this season. You know, semi-finalist on the clay in Rome, won on the grass in Mallorca, won on a decently paced hard court, similar sort of pace to this in Auckland at the start of the year. Sonego's stats, as I mentioned, against Griekspoor, just doesn't win enough return points. Only won 31% of return points this season away from clay. Only breaking serve 11% of the time. You know, it's not enough. Strangely, for a guy who's mainly about his forehand, he's got a very good record against left-handers, Sonego. He's got a 60% win rate against lefties at main level compared to 46% against right-handers. So he's got a much better record against lefties than he has against righties, which I'm not quite sure why, but he does. Tabilo highly motivated here. He's held serve 88% of the time this season away from the clay. Tabilo, very, very good win against Tiafoe. Highly motivated here. He was brought up in Canada, wasn't he, Tabilo? Toronto, I think he actually was brought up in, but still Canada. So this is one, I think, where scheduling does matter. You know, if it's a day match, I'm quite like the over 10.5 in set one. If it's in the day, Sonego's serving well, playing very, very aggressively, too aggressively, I think, against Tabilo. You think how many unforced errors did he hit yesterday? It was like 30 odd unforced errors. Sonego yesterday. He still won the match, but I feel like he's not going to get away with that against a more sort of measured opponent in Tabilo. So if it's a day match, I'd be tempted with the set one overs, but otherwise I'm tempted on something like -1.5 on Tabilo. Bearing in mind he holds a serve 88% of the time. Sonego doesn't break much at all. So if Tabilo is going to win it, you would think he'd cover something like -1.5 or even -2.5 if you wanted to go further. So that's probably where I'd go with on that one.
A total difference of opinion on the first match. It's very rare that we do. I just thought Sonego looked quite big at +120 the way I've watched him yesterday. I agree with you, Sean. I think if it goes an early start, but I think that might help Sonego if it's an early start. So over to, I think if it goes late, an evening match, I think Tabilo obviously, but I just think -150 is a little bit short. But you've given us the stats. You're the senior handicapper.
I think that price
You've pulled
is okay.
You've pulled rank there,
it's
mate.
Just my opinion. You're entitled. Everyone's entitled to their own. This is just mine. That's all.
Yeah, there you go. Difference of opinion. That's what it makes all around. But Sean has given you the reasons why he thinks Tabilo is the bet there. And I bow to his greatness. His record on the shows over the last few years is exceptional. And I'm probably looking at Sonego probably too much yesterday. I thought he played well, but conditions, I think it does make a difference to the schedule. Remember to check the BetRivers app for the timings of those matches. The matches will start at 11 a.m. Eastern time, but we're not quite sure when these matches will feature because there are a lot of matches to get through. And remember, if you do have a bet with the BetRivers app, you can bet live and watch live on the BetRivers app. You'll be able to watch any one of these matches you have a wager on your tablet or your mobile device. Okay, let's move on to next match. Tomas Martin Etcheverry is up against Andrey Rublev. Meltdown is imminent whenever Rublev plays. He's -450 to win this match. Tomas Martin Etcheverry is $3. The spread is a very high 3.5 and a very heavy favourite. Rublev giving up 3.5 is -150. Etcheverry +3.5 is +110. The total here is 22.5, which is the constant number this week. Over is -110. Under is -125. They've never met each other before. Etcheverry has a very, very poor season so far, and on every surface other than clay, really, where he's got a winning record. He's losing on grass, he's losing on hard courts, and he's not in great form at all. He did beat Jarry though in the first round here, which was probably one of his best wins. It was his best win on the hard court this season. And Rublev got to the quarterfinals in Washington, where he got beat by Tiafoe. Semi-finals in Nuremberg, where he played the eventual champion Serendula, but didn't look well and didn't play well in his match against Marijan in the quarterfinals. Rublev not playing at all well, played a lot of tennis. He's -450, and the big question here is, can anybody trust the Russian at these very, very heavy odds?
Probably not at the moment, but he should be winning this one. I watched Etcheverry against Jarry yesterday. It was a shocking performance from Jarry. Jarry hit 64 unforced errors yesterday in 3 sets. Now, I haven't worked that out, but that's a set and a half given to Etcheverry in unforced errors, roughly. 39 of those errors, unforced errors, that is, came off his forehand, which is his weapon. We know Jarry, big serve, big forehand, that's his game. Mediocre backhand, just a sea of errors. He's not played well since going really deep in Rome. I think he got to the final or semi-final in Rome, didn't he? Done nothing since then. Injury problems. I would have thought the quickness. I looked at this Jarry Etcheverry for the first round, and I was kind of half tempted with Jarry because of Etcheverry's not great record on quicker conditions, but just couldn't trust Jarry because his form's off, and he certainly was off again. Yesterday, Rublev's had a strange couple of weeks. He was on his own last week in Washington, D.C. He was moaning because his coach wasn't there because he didn't intend to play Washington, D.C., but he took a late wild card because he felt like he needed some tennis. He wasn't playing the Olympics, so he took a late wild card. His coach couldn't make it, so he was on his own. He was complaining about that. For the first time in his career, I think he said he was on his own at a tournament without a coach. His rackets got delayed on the flight over from Umag to Sorry, there's no flight. As you know, there's no airport in Umag. Venice, he went to actually and flew from Venice to DC, but he didn't have his rackets for the first few days or something. He still played pretty well in DC, but Tiafoe played unbelievable to beat him. A fabulous match Tiafoe played to beat him last week. So I can't really criticise Rublev for losing that one. So Etcheverry, I just feel like he needs slower conditions. He seems to be exclusively clay, really. He's okay on hard. Slower hard, fine. Quicker hard and grass, he's not great. And he's not been up to much against top 10 opponents either. He's played 8 top 10 opponents so far in his career at main level, and he's lost all 8 matches. If we look at the stats of these two over the last 12 months away from clay, so we're forgetting about clay for now, Etcheverry 41% win rate and a service points won and return points won, total of 100. It's okay. Rublev 62% win rate and 105. So you kind of see where the odds come from there. Rublev much more accomplished, much higher win rate, better general stats on the quicker surfaces than Etcheverry does. But I think there is a way to bet this. If you look at Rublev, what he's done in his last 10 matches, he's only won the opening set twice. One of them was against Ugo Carabelli in Umag, and the other one was on a tiebreak against Rinderknecht, I think in DC. And set 1 has gone to at least 10 games in all 10 of those matches, and it's gone over 10 games, so 10.5 or more in half of them, 50%. So he's always been a player that tends to start quite slowly, a bit nervously, and lately, because he's not been winning much, that's kind of exacerbated, and he's not winning many first sets, or if he is winning them, he's just sort of snatching them late on in the set. So again, the scheduling will matter here as well. The quicker it is, i.e. the earlier in the day it is, you think that would more favour Rublev, or rather not favour Etcheverry. I think he'd probably prefer it at night. But if this was played in the day, I haven't seen the odds yet because the lines aren't out, but over 10.5 games in set 1, if it's played in the day, that would be interesting on the basis that Rublev is struggling to get going in matches at the minute.
Yeah, it is quick. Over 10.5 set 1 would have been cashed in quite a number of matches yesterday, and this one here with the stats that Sean's just touched on there, Rublev Etcheverry, over 10.5 games in set 1. You might even want to go 9.5 because every single one of Rublev matches has been 10 or more. So in that set 1, so you may be able to cash on a little lower number there when the odds come available on the BetRivers website. You move that toggle down and you'll get 10.5 or 9.5 on set number 1. Halfway through the matches that we are discussing for Thursday. Next up is the veteran Kei Nishikori up against Stefanos Tsitsipas. Nishikori is plus 430, 34 years of age. He's plus 430 to beat Tsitsipas, who's minus 625, the champion from Monte Carlo. Spread 4.5, minus 106 for Nishikori, the former US Open finalist. Tsitsipas minus 4.5 is minus 121. The total here is 21.5 with over minus 120, under minus 107. They've met 2 times before, many years ago. 2018 was the first time they met in Tokyo in Japan. Nishikori won 6-3, 6-3, which is no surprise given that Tsitsipas would have been just starting his career then. And in Miami in 2021, Tsitsipas got his revenge, winning 2 sets to 1, 6-1 in the third set. Probably irrelevant, those stats. Nishikori's on the comeback trail. He had a good win in round 1 here against Mickelson. He got bowed out in the first round at the Olympics against Draper. Also got beaten in the first round of Wimbledon by Rinderknecht, and round 2 at the French Open by Shelton. So in fact, he's only won 2 of his last 7 tennis matches. Tsitsipas got beat by Djokovic at the quarterfinals at the Olympics, and he reached the semi-finals in Gstaad, where he got beat by the eventual champion Berrettini. So Tsitsipas' form has been pretty good post-Wimbledon. Nishikori is on the comeback trail. Has he got anything left in him? That's the question here. There has been money for Nishikori, though, in the build-up to this. I don't know if people thinking he might roll back the years or seeing a sort of doubt in what they're seeing from Tsitsipas, but a little bit of money around for Nishikori. More optimistic wagering than I believe than anything more. Sort of anyone going in this match thinking that Nishikori's going to do the business. I'm not quite sure about this. What do you think of this one, Sean?
I think these next two are all about how the veterans are able to bounce back from pretty intense opening matches. Starting with Nishikori, we'll come on to Carreno Busta in a minute. It's just about how well Nishikori recovers after having played 3 sets on Tuesday. You know, he's only won back-to-back matches at main level once since the 2021 US Open. And that was in Atlanta in 2023 when he won a couple of matches against Jerry Shang and Jordan Thompson, I think it was. So he's anything but proven in a back-to-back match situation in this day and age. You know, he's had an awful time throughout his career with injuries. You know, great ball striker, one of the best ball strikers of the last sort of 10, 15 years, really. But just racked with injuries. His body was never really able to stand up to the rigours of going on the tour week in, week out. But he looked pretty good. I could kind of see where the money's coming from in a way. He did look pretty good, recovering from a set and a break down against Mickelson. He won 62% of his second serve points, and he played at a pretty high level once he started to recover from a set and a breakdown. The question is, and this is completely intangible, you know, can he keep it up? You know, anyone that's watched Nishikori over the course of his career, you're always just hoping that if you've backed him or if you're a fan of his, you're just hoping that he doesn't get injured again, because he's just constant injuries. Tsitsipas has got a peculiar record in Canada. He's 0-2 in Montreal, but 8-3 in Toronto. I'm not sure whether that's just coincidence or he's just preferred the conditions in Toronto, or I guess it's just a coincidence. I don't know, but he's never won a match in Montreal, Tsitsipas. And his hard court stats or general stats, if we take out clay, he's almost exclusively a clay guy these days, Tsitsipas. Doesn't really seem to have the desire or whatever it is away from the clay. All his best work comes on the clay. Last 12 months away from that surface, his service points won and return points won total is 102, which is, you know, not great. It certainly isn't great for a guy who considers himself sort of top 10, top 5. You know, those stats aren't fabulous. It's the same issue that he's still got, which is the fact that his return of serve isn't very good at all. Out of those last 12 months away from clay stats, he's held serve 88% of the time, Tsitsipas, but he's only winning 33.8% of return points. So it's the same issue. Serve's fine, the attacking game is fine, but the defensive side of his game and the return of serve, you know, on a quicker surface, i.e. grass hard, it's not good enough. But there's an interesting trend. If you assume that he's going to hold serve 88-ish% of the time, but win as fewer return points as he does, you would think that would lead to a lot of overs. But in the last 12 months in Masters 1000s on hard, set one for him has ended in under 10.5 games, 11 times from 13 matches. So that's quite a strange statistic. And a lot of them he's just lost the opening set and he's had to try and battle back. So if you are going to bet on this, which I think it's a difficult one because you really are guessing as to how Nishikori is going to shape up, and you're guessing a little bit as to the Tsitsipas motivation levels at this sort of tournament are hard these days. Bearing in mind his stats and results on Masters 1000s on hard, I'd be quite tempted. I haven't seen the odds yet, but I'd be tempted with Tsitsipas to win the opening set 6-3. I think you might get a decent price on that. That's about the best I can come up with on this one. It's virtually unbettable because we don't know what sort of state Nishikori is going to be in. Would
you look at watching it and seeing how Nishikori plays and maybe take a play in running if he starts well?
Yeah, possibly. The problem with Nishi, though, is you never know when he's going to break down. He could start great, you know, come out, break Tsitsipas' serve, you know, go break up, and then all of a sudden something goes wrong with him again. The back, the legs, it could be anything with him. That's why I've kind of suggested Tsitsipas 6-3. I haven't seen the price on that yet, but I think you'll get a decent odds on that. I would rather take a much bigger price bet, a little bit of pizza money bet on this, rather than trying to be too sort of cute with it at shorter prices, because it's very unpredictable with Nishikori's body.
Yeah, there are some lines up on the Bet Rivers website. Not that market, though. We'll wait for the set one correct score to
It'll
appear.
Be closer to the time, won't it? I think that'll come out.
At the moment, there's about 26 markets up there. I expect those markets to increase to around about 40. Just head across there to the app. Make sure you look out for that market. And if you see a nice price on Tsitsipas to win 6-3 in set number 1, that would be the lean for Sean in the Tsitsipas Nishikori match. Another match which sees a veteran up against an opponent there is, again, pretty flaky. It's Pablo Carreno Busta, former champion, of this event. He's up against Holger Rune, minus 315 for Holger Rune, plus 240 for Carreno Busta. 3.5 is the spread, minus 124 for Rune, who obviously gives up the 3.5. The Spaniard, former champion Carreno Busta, plus 3.5 is minus 103, and the totals here is 22.5 with under the favourite at minus 130. If you're a fan of the head-to-heads, you'll be looking at this and be encouraged by the fact that Carreno Busta leads 3-0 in the head-to-head record. They met twice in 2022. Once here in Montreal, 6-love, 6-3 for Carreno Busta on that occasion in the second round. Exactly the same stage. Very different circumstances this time, though. In 2022, they also won on the grass in Halle, which Carreno Busta won in straight sets, and they also won indoors in Metz in 3 sets in the quarter-final there. Carreno Busta has obviously been plagued by injuries this year. He's only played, this will be his 7th match on the main tour, and he's only won 2 of the 6 he's played so far, so he's not in the greatest of form. One of those wins was here, though, in the first round where he played against Marijan, and he encouraged that fact that he went to 3 sets there, so he had a little bit of fight in him, had a bit of tennis under his belt, and Rune was far from convincing in his win over Bautista Agut. So another Spaniard stands in his way in Carreno Busta. If Carreno Busta can replicate some form that we know he can from when he won this tournament and from what we saw from a few years back, he's got a great chance of beating Rune because Rune is vulnerable. But a long match, lots of worries with injuries. That's the big question mark here. Can he perform back-to-back wins or back-to-back performances?
Yes, it's exactly the same situation, more or less, as I just talked about with Nishikori. I was slightly annoyed about this because I was toying with the idea of backing Carreno Busta in the first round against Marijan. He was about 3.25, I think, plus 225 to beat Marijan. But I was kind of guessing on his fitness. I kind of hope I couldn't really put it in because we are just completely guessing on how fit he is. He hasn't played for so long, or barely played. Keeps withdrawing, coming back, withdrawing again. And I didn't really have any idea how fit he was going to be. But he did really well to come back from a set and double break down to Marijan. He was a set and 4-1 down, double break, Carreno Busta, but managed to turn it around. He's playing with a protected ranking this week. He's obviously motivated. That's what kind of led me to almost put him in against Marijan, because he's obviously motivated to go well. He's the defending champion here from 2 years ago, 2022. But what is his body going to allow him to do? It's the same as the Nishikori match. We are guessing how he's going to recover after a very long match like that, but he's got a great head-to-head, hasn't he, against Holger Rune, although some of those matches were when Rune was much lower ranked. But Rune's had his injury problems as well, hasn't he? He's had wrist issues since Hamburg. He could have got quite lucky, I think. In my opinion, he did get slightly lucky when Raonic withdrew. He was supposed to be playing Milos Raonic in the first round. That would have been a highly motivated Raonic playing. Well, if Tennis Canada have got any sense, they would have put that on in the day when it's quicker. Raonic, obviously another guy. We're talking about injuries. He's another one high on that list of injury plagued players. So he withdrew. Instead of that, he got Bautista Agut, as you said, who'd already played and lost earlier in the day for 3 hours against Kokkinakis. So he'd already played a really long match, Bautista Agut, earlier in the day. Came back as a late notice, and he still took Holger Rune the distance. So it was anything, as you said, it was anything but a convincing performance from Holger Rune. He didn't serve well either. He only made 50% of his first serves and threw in 7 double faults. Off the ground, he was up and down again, as he's been for probably about a year now, at least, I would say. We can't talk about Holger Rune without talking about him splitting from yet another coach. He split up with Mouratoglou again. That's at least the second time he split with Mouratoglou. He split up with him last week. So Kenneth Carlson's now his only coach, as far as I'm aware. Unless he's going to bring someone else in. I mean, he might as well. He's tried everybody else. So just looking at the stats, I mean, you can't back Rune at minus 315. I mean, even against a Carreno Busta who's coming back desperately trying to prolong his career at a tournament that he obviously loves. Because Rune's stats, last 12 months at main level and outdoor hard, 52% win rate and a service points won and return points won total of 99. And this is a guy that has ideas at the moment above his station, talking about winning Masters and majors and stuff. Not with these stats. Nowhere near. And Carreno Busta's beaten him pretty comfortably on surfaces that you perhaps wouldn't expect Carreno Busta to do well in. From grass, there's never been a surface for Carreno Busta. He's beaten Rune there, beat him on indoor hard, beaten him on outdoor hard here in Montreal when he went on to win the title. So it feels like an overs game to me, given that Rune's so up and down. There's nothing about his game that's flowing. His serve isn't really working. His ground strokes are kind of up and down as well, off, sometimes on, then they've gone again. And he's got an opponent here who's beat him 3 times out of 3, and obviously he's highly motivated. So I would be looking at over 22.5 here, plus 102. It was earlier on when I looked with Bet Rivers. You're probably going to tell me the odds have changed, but
no, still there, so plus 102.
That's probably where I'd go, but as I say, it's got to have a bit of a caveat because this guy Carreno Busta, who's obviously had so many injury problems, and he's coming off the back of a fairly epic match in the first round.
Yep, plus 102 is still available. The Bet Rivers app, head across there now. I'm not quite sure it'll be available for the rest of the day, but it's there available now. So plus 102 is that official play, or is that a link for you, Sean?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't have any official play today because the matches aren't. They're not ones that make me want to have a bet. And I always say, you've got to really fancy the bet, haven't you, to make it an official play?
Yeah.
I'd be sort of a bit half-hearted on some of these. It's the matches that we've got. I think they're all decent ideas, but all 4 of them will probably win now.
The leans have been doing better than the official picks, actually. If you've been betting the leans, you've been all right.
That's one thing I'm not so good at. I tend to pick the ones that I feel the strongest about, but it's not always them ones that win. It's the ones that you're sort of 60-40 about that sometimes come in, but that's the game we're in, isn't it? Yeah,
the information's been good. The official picks are showing a small negative, minus 0.23, virtually level, heading into the US Open. Obviously, we've got some big tennis coming up all this week in Montreal. The dates have slightly changed this week. The tournament started on Tuesday, so myself and Sean have been here on Monday, Wednesday, and we'll probably be back on Friday. We're going to do a special show on Friday. That'll be the 3 shows this week because obviously the schedules are slightly different. So Monday, Wednesday and Friday. We'll let you know about that for definite on the Twitter page tomorrow, but I think you'll be all right for Friday, Sean?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so Friday will be the day we'll be back. Obviously, next week you're going to have a load of content, new shows coming from Monday. A daily show with myself and Neil Channing, one of the biggest gamblers in the UK. Every Monday we'll be back looking at the world of sport, looking at some of the interesting topics across the world of sport. Myself and Neil on a Monday. A daily show on at 11 o'clock Eastern time, Monday to Friday. A new Betting Weekly live show. We're looking at the action for that night in the world of sport. Whatever's going on, we'll have you covered there, mainly soccer. On there, and also we'll be back with the Premier League on Thursday and also the European show as well on Thursday. So 8 shows a week now, new shows of soccer content as well as the 3 on the tennis. It's going to be 11 shows, 12 shows a week now on the Betting Weekly Studios, and you'll be able to get all those by subscribing to Betting Weekly Studios on YouTube. Download this podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, and all the other podcasts on your preferred podcast provider. And also make sure you follow us on Twitter and socials at Because We Win on Instagram and also on X or Twitter, as you call it. Sean, thank you very much. I'll let you go now. I know you're in a hurry to go and pick up the boy from his soccer club.
Yes.
Enjoy the peace and quiet before he gets back. I'm going to have to go and rest this leg and get on to my doctor and find out what's going on here. But listen, thanks very much for joining us. Enjoy your day off tomorrow, and we'll be back again on Friday. Look, good luck with the picks tonight as well. If you've got any picks you like, in the matches that we haven't covered on the show, put them in the comment section below. If you want to ask us questions on the matches that we don't know now, but we will do tomorrow when this video is live, let us know, and we'll give you our thoughts on the other matches as well. But for now, we've only got those 4 matches. Unfortunately, no official play, but there's a few leans there to get you going and give you some tennis action all throughout Thursday over in Montreal. Take care, and we'll speak to you again on Friday.